The tragedy is, it seems to me, that if we go back to the 1790s, if we go back to the that great French revolutionary moment, Britain knew exactly how it had to respond. It had to stop it. It had to resist it. It had to root it out. And what we did in 1997 was precisely the opposite of what our ancestors had done 200 years before. We embraced this profoundly sloppy, sentimental, dangerous mode of thought and effectively undercut not simply our law, but I would argue, you use that word revolutionary, and I think that's what happened. We had a slow burn revolution in the 1990s, and it combined exactly what, not simply Bentham, not simply the legal changes of the European Convention or the invention of the Supreme Court or the Equal Opportunities Act. It amounted to a rewriting of the foundations of the state. And it arguably amounted to even changing the population. Because again, Blair and that first great wave of immigration, which was done to rub the nose of the British people in diversity, what that amounts to, let me read again these classic texts. This is Bertolt Brecht in East Germany. And there'd been a particular hoo-ha in East Germany, and there'd been early tensions in the shaping of the new ideal society. And here we are now with Brecht's brilliantly witty take on it. Some party hack decreed that the people had lost the government's confidence. The people had lost the government's confidence, and they could only regain it with redoubled effort. In that case, wouldn't it be simpler if the government dissolved the people and elected another? And now you see, that was a joke then.
Yes, that's
immigration. It's become reality. Yeah. You've actually changed the population. And there's a great discourse going on now about when Blair said we were a new country. We all laughed our heads off. But it looks in retrospect as though that was exactly what he achieved. There is a deliberate rupture with the historic past. There is a shattering change in our constitutional and legal arrangements. And finally, it's capped by the largest change in our population since, I would argue, ever. The Norman invasion, the Roman invasion, the Anglo-Saxon invasions were mere pinpricks compared with the numbers that have arrived in Britain in the last 20 years. And so we really have seen genuine, 200 years after the French, we've undergone this thing that was determined to shape us from new. And what we've also learned, as I'm afraid the French did bitterly, is that the results are catastrophic. In whichever area you look, the results have been profoundly, utterly damaging.
Yes, I mean, I was going to allude to it earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt your flow. But just listening to the daily news, I mean, the sorts of stories that now flood our daily broadcasts. On the one hand, there being no basis for deporting persons who should not be here because they've committed heinous criminal acts. And all sorts of reasons are produced as to why this would, be an infringement of their particular version of human rights. The fact that we can't really house people in prisons at all. So even if we were to keep foreign criminals in our domestic prisons, there is a human rights argument that is gaining ground now that prisons really aren't the best places to house anybody, and we should release everybody more or less. And you find this in Bentham, because he basically says that the architecture of human rights makes it very difficult really to distinguish between criminals and law-abiding citizens.
Or indeed between the mad and the sane.
The mad and the sane.